My sister teases me about the way I wear my wigs because I'm a lazy wig wearer. I don't pluck the edges. I don't bleach the knots. I most of the time don't even glue them down. You can see I could just slide this one back and forth. I just put them on my head and brush or comb them and go. I think it depends on whether you want them to look real or not, or how much you want them to look real. For me, I don't really care because you guys know I didn't have purple hair yesterday and I won't have purple hair tomorrow. This movie called Bad Hair came out this weekend. When I saw the trailer for Bad Hair, it reminded me of these Asian movies that came out a few years ago that were about cursed wigs and cursed weaves. Funny thing is, when I went to look for this movie, I thought that there were only two movies, one called The Wig and one called Hair Extensions. I found out there was actually three movies, one called The Wig, a second one called Hair Extensions, and the third one is also called Exte, Hair Extensions. The Wig, aka Scary Hair, was made in South Korea. Both of the extension movies were made in Japan. So I decided to review all three movies before I watch Bad Hair. Let's start with The Wig, and I'm wearing one of my favorite wigs. My sister teases me about the way I wear my wigs because I'm a lazy wig wearer. I don't pluck the edges. I don't bleach the knots. I most of the time don't even glue them down. You can see I could just slide this one back and forth. I just put them on my head and brush or comb them and go. I think it depends on whether you want them to look real or not, or how much you want them to look real. For me, I don't really care because you guys know I didn't have purple hair yesterday and I won't have purple hair tomorrow. So there's no sense in putting on airs. Anyways, let's talk about the movie. I had to hunt this down on eBay because it wasn't streaming on any services. And the copy that I got is actually from Blockbuster and doesn't have a box to it. This is what it looks like. And it's the unrated version. It's been so long since I used a DVD player, I had to set the DVD player back up again, and I almost forgot how to use the remote control for it. I have a collection of DVD movies, and one day I'll probably make a video about my DVD collection, but since most things are either available streaming or I have a digital copy saved on my hard drive, it's rare for me to have to actually pop a DVD into the player. That said, this movie had a beautifully haunting opening sequence. A wig is being made, and the person sewing it sews over their finger and starts to bleed into the wig. As I said, this movie takes place in Seoul, South Korea, but there's also mentions of Busan. This movie is about a young lady who's just gone through treatment for leukemia and is given the gift of a wig when she's discharged from the hospital. Unfortunately for her, the wig is cursed. She lives with her sister who's mute. I noticed when I was watching this with the subtitles on, the translation kept on saying the sister's name every time she called her Uni, and Uni is a way to call your older sister. It's like saying sis, but it's specifically for the older sister because it's a distinction of respect, which I kind of wish that we had in the United States because I'm the oldest of my sisters and I think I should be the Uni. My middle sister told me that she's not going to call me Uni because, quote, you were barely out of diapers when I was born. Technically, I was potty trained and in preschool when she was born, but still. My middle sister still speaks to me like she's my older sister, though. And my younger stepsister never asked for my advice. I might know some stuff. I still have my youngest baby sister who still respects me. Anyway, like I said, this young lady's wig is haunted. And I really like that concept because sometimes objects carry a negative energy. I wonder sometimes if anyone ever wore weave and had bad luck because of what the original owner of that hair went through, which is yet another reason to wear synthetic hair. Wearing human hair is slightly creepy when you really think about it, especially when you hear about things like there was a rash of hair stealing, what would you call it, hair thievery? Hair thieves? There was a rash of hair thieves in Brazil where like Girls would go to the movie theater and someone would just come up behind them and cut their ponytail off. That's bad mojo on the hair. And don't get it twisted, I've worn human hair before. Back in the 90s, I had weave with some tracks in there. I used to do the quick ponytails. That's when you go and you buy the track hair and you put your hair in a bun and then you wrap it around your bun and then secure it with bobby pins, and that's your quick ponytail for the summer. That was my go-to back in the 90s. Back then, I used to use human hair and didn't think much of it at all. This movie will make you think twice about where the hair comes from. The mystery in this movie unfolds like layers of an onion being peeled back, which is why I'm being deliberately vague. It's shot beautifully. The color is a little bit washed out, but not to the point where it would annoy me. The scare scenes are very well planned out, and there's some perfectly executed and very effective jump scares. The gore is superb, especially this one scene that involves pills and a bald head. I was not expecting that. There's one sequence where the wig is moving on its own, and that one didn't age particularly well, but it got the point across. Be forewarned that this story is tragic and does not necessarily have a happy ending. But if you've seen South Korean horror, you'll notice that there usually is drama interweaved within the horror, and I like that. This movie came out in 2005, and then shortly thereafter, Extension came out in 2007 in Japan, and then Exte Extension came out in Japan in 2014. I didn't watch them in chronological order, so I'm going to pair this movie with the 2014 version of Hair Extension, and I'll be right back to tell you more about that. I know you didn't think I was going to review a movie called Hair Extensions without actually having hair extensions. I paired this with the wig because it's also about cursed hair. Right now I'm going to talk about the 2014 version of Hair Extension that is available on Tubi. There's also a movie by the same name that came out in 2007 that is also a Japanese movie, but this is not a remake of that one. This has a great and to the point opening sequence. I like how they got right to the point, and the movie jumps into full gear. But then suddenly it has this really long title sequence. I wondered why this title sequence was dragging on so long, and then I noticed that this film was only 1 hour and 10 minutes long. So I think they padded out the runtime with the title sequence. This is a very simple story. It is about a trainee at a hair salon who encounters some cursed hair. Everyone that gets that cursed weave gets messed up. This is not shot on film, it's shot on video, but they made the most of it. The framing was pretty good and the lighting was alright. Not great, just alright. It could have been much, much better for the scare scenes though. So not the best movie, but alright for the most part. The score was a standard horror score and it worked pretty well. What shined the most in this was the creativity and the practical effects. There were great, great practical effects, especially for them to look so good on video. I really like this movie. It's not great, but it made me create another level on my rating system. Remember, I had the 3 levels because I felt like there's too many binary thinking in the movie review community where everything is either amazing or it's trash, and I said that some things are just mediocre. This is above mediocre, so I will call it aight. At 1 hour and 10 minutes, this was a very short to the point movie. I was not bored by it. It was ultra low budget. They only really had 3 sets they reused, and they did a good job reusing those 3 sets. That said, I will be reviewing the other movie called Hair Extension and Bad Hair. So stay tuned for those reviews. Did you see the wig, aka scary hair, or hair extensions? Did it make you think twice about wearing human hair? Let me know in the comments. And I kept it extensions in to review Exte or EXTE hair extensions. You can see where my hair ends. It's like sticking out right there. Thank goodness I found this on YouTube with subtitles because I've been wanting to check it out. In case you haven't seen my previous video, yes, I did review the South Korean film The Wig, aka Scary Hair, and the other film by the same name, Hair Extensions, that's from 2014. So check that video out. At the time I was about to review the other movie called Hair Extensions, I didn't realize that there were two movies with the same or nearly the same name, so I had to check this one out as well. Even more so when I saw the trailer for Bad Hair, because that trailer reminded me of the trailer for these movies. And this movie is, of course, about cursed weave. I was unsure if the other movie called Hair Extension was an unofficial sequel to this because there is a character in this named Mommy who's a little girl, and there's an adult woman in the other movie called Hair Extension who's also named Mommy. So I wondered if they were the same character. They are not. These movies are not connected in any way other than the premise. This is a horror comedy, and it goes back and forth between horror and comedy. There's no rhyme or reason to when or how the tone shifts. It just does multiple times during the movie. There's a character in this that every time you see him, it's a WTF moment.
Hey, my hair, 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 my hair, 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 my hair, 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 my hair.
You wanted to say, stop being weird, and then I remembered it's Japan. I'm not going to give you a play-by-play about what happens because this movie deserves not to be spoiled. The story is compelling, and there's a dramatic subplot involving the character's sister and niece. There's also a lot of different effects with the hair. Some are practical, some are CGI, some are a combination of both, but both types worked well in my opinion. There's a sequence in this that kind of feels a little bit like Saw and Hostel, but most of the sequences feel trippy. The part that's like Hostel and Saw only happens one time for 2 minutes during a flashback sequence. Like I said, most of the scare scenes have a way more trippy feel to them. Think Tetsuo the Iron Man, but with hair. And without that sped up film style. Some of the effects with the hair reminded me of this one story in John Carpenter's Body Bags that was about this guy who was losing his hair and he volunteered to have an experimental hair restoration and things went horribly wrong. This had moments of suspense, surprise, and comedy. I think it's a modern classic. If you like Japanese horror, it's not for everyone. You have to have a certain type of sense of humor, and if it's not for you, that's okay. But I liked it a lot. I recommend this movie if you like Japanese horror, and since available for free on YouTube, you can't really go wrong, can you? I'm gonna go check out Bad Hair, and I'll be right back.
はい、すべてにしました。
暴走する恐怖。エクステ。そのエクステは死神。つけたら最後、あなたを襲う。
Since this movie takes place in 1989, I figured I'd come through with a 1989 look, even rocking the funky polka dots. This movie opens with an experience that a lot of young ladies go through, and that's a bad relaxer experience. I had this happen to me when I was 10 years old, the first and only time my aunt tried to relax my hair. She said that she either forgot the neutralizer or forgot what step she was on, but at some point when she was rinsing my hair, it was breaking off and falling down the sink. And then about 2 weeks later, my mother decided to cut all my hair off. So I had the big chop before it was cool. Number one, you shouldn't relax a 10-year-old's hair. And number two, you shouldn't use extra strength relaxer on type 3 hair. So for most of my life, I had natural hair. And then I had a perm for 2.5 weeks. And then back to natural. By the way, which was not popular in the 80s and the 90s. Especially in the 90s. Couldn't walk down a hallway in high school without somebody saying something about how you need to perm your hair. It was just irking their soul, and it's funny because now they're on Facebook all talking about their hair journey. Better late than never, but let's talk about this movie. It starts off with a flashback to our main character's experience with the bad relaxer. Then the timeline jumps forward to 1989 and shows us some hair being transported from Louisiana to Los Angeles. Our main character, Anna, is working for BET. Culture. Yeah, that's the ticket. Culture TV is the stand-in for BET, but we all know it's supposed to be BET. She's played by Elle Lorraine, whose skin looks glowy and flawless. Plus, she has really great bone structure. I don't recall seeing her in any other projects. This is my first time seeing her, and she does an excellent job in this. She's a certified scream queen. We love to see it. She goes to interview for a VJ position in this movie's stand-in for MTV. Oh, for my younger viewers, a VJ is a video jockey. There's these people who used to host music video shows on channels like BET and MTV back when they used to play music videos. They introduced music videos in a similar way that DJs introduce music on the radio. A radio is, anyways, when she's interviewing, they tell her that they want a downtown Julie Brown type, a more international type. That's code for racially ambiguous. In the United States, the entertainment industry for years has pushed a certain look for Black women. The movie emphasizes this point by having her walk down a hallway filled with downtown Julie Brown types. And I suppose I should explain who downtown Julie Brown is. She was the host of a popular MTV show called Club MTV. But before that, she actually won. This is in the early 80s. I didn't know this at the time that I saw her on MTV, but you can find her on YouTube dancing. She won a disco contest in 1980 or 1979 in the UK. Anyways, they're being colorist trash and using international to blame their preferences on the world. That's not to say that there isn't colorism all over the world. I'm looking right at you, Fair and Lovely. And also the publications that Photoshop twice to be several shades lighter than what they really are. But it's disingenuous to act like, oh no, it's not because of us, it's all those people over there. That's what they want to see. We're just doing it for them. When really, America has a huge colorism problem as well. That's why you see artists like Azealia Banks and Kelly Rowland having a far larger fan support outside the United States than in the United States. Also, a lot of entertainment executives are 70 plus years old, so they think the world is still in the madman era that's in their heads. Side note, I've noticed a particular type of colorism that I've seen in Europeans and European Americans. Why are redheads so reviled? I don't understand. Moving on. This movie speaks a lot of truth within a horror story, but then most of the best horror movies do. Let's take James Van Der Beek's character, for example. He represents that era of BET when it started being transferred from Black executives to white executives. That was a real thing that happened. Vanessa Williams' character. I kind of wonder if she isn't loosely based off of Susan DePass. If you don't know who she is, look her up. But there are a lot of similarities. The music video that they have featured in this is giving me life.
Be willing to do anything for? Wow.
It's like a Janet Jackson video, but a Karen White song. Look her up. And the singer is played by Kelly Rowland. Bonus, the video dude is Usher Raymond. She even has a Janet Jackson haircut, which, by the way, I unfortunately had when I was about 12 years old. My mother's friend, hot comb, back in those days, she had a Marcel iron, and she hot combed my hair straight, and then she cut it in that Janet Jackson haircut with the layers coming around. The only problem is when you do that to a 12-year-old who doesn't have a perm, doesn't know how to maintain that haircut, when you wash your hair and it goes back curly, it's a mullet. Janet had that cut and Pebbles had that cut. That was the cut. It lasted 2 days for me. Let's talk about getting a weave scene. I almost felt that. I think every person that's tender-headed felt that scene. For my international viewers, tender-headed just means that you have a very sensitive scalp, and when someone braids your hair, it hurts. Having a ponytail too tight hurts. Having a bun too tight hurts. If this headband was too tight on my head, it would hurt. Even not combing your hair gently enough hurts for a tender-headed person. I did have some issues with her weave in this movie because it takes place in 1989, and we didn't really have those fancy closures back then. The top would have been leave out and just pressed or relaxed to match the rest of the hair. And you didn't have to pat your head because there was space in between the tracks. You could just stick your fingers in there and scratch like normal. But then my tender-headed self never had a full weave. Anyways, I couldn't handle it. I had 3 tracks in the back, and that killed me. I remember my stepmother did them for me, and my friend Anasha. And I remember that night we were sitting on the couch, and both of us were taking Tylenol because our heads hurt so much. And both my mother and my stepmother are those tight braiders, the type of tight braiders where they catch up all your baby hair and you can't look down. I just bought curly hair that matched my own Although one time I did dye the hair and my hair at the same time because I just wanted it red. That's how we had to color match the weave back then because there wasn't as big of a selection. It was like 4 colors. Anyways, Homegirl had a 2020 weave, not a 1989 weave. Now I can really get into how that's not the way you wrap your hair up at night either. But I'm gonna let it go because I've said enough about hair in this video. But how can you not talk about hair when you're talking about a movie that's about hair? Now the thing about not getting it wet is true. I had this hair that back in the day, I said this in my other video, but I'm gonna repeat it in case you didn't see the other video. You used to get tracks of hair, and for summertime you put your hair in a bun, gel it up with that it's called the Black People's Gel. What's the proper name for it? Protein gel. Yeah. I used to gel my hair up with the protein gel into a bun, and you take the tracks and wrap it around the bun and then pin it with bobby pins, and that's the look for the summer. I got that sucker wet one time and I could not comb it out. But I think back in the day they used to sell us synthetic hair and tell us it was real hair because it doesn't make sense for you not to be able to comb hair just because it's wet. If anything, at least with curly hair, it's easier to comb when it's wet. That was back in the day. We didn't have drawstring ponytails. The life you guys live now, it's so... Be appreciative of the things that you have. You have drawstring ponytails. You have hair that doesn't tangle when it gets wet. You have all this wig and weave technology. Is a thing of beauty. I forgot to mention that weave had the nerve to be called French wet and wavy. Anyways, back to the movie. When that sister said, I just want to work at a place where I don't have to look like a different bitch every week to do what I love, I felt personally attacked. Because I look like a different bitch every week. But I do it because I love it. But the point in the scene is that it's not her choice and she's being forced to do something that she really doesn't want to do in order to just do her job. And that's bullshit. And it's realistic. This happens in industry and it's not just hair. It's nose jobs. It's liposuction. It's anything that you can think of that you don't want to have done to your body but someone pressures you to do to your body. Hair plugs for men. I can never look at Joel McHale's scalp the same. So anyways, at the party, they have these millennial actors trying to dance like Gen X and they're just a little too stiff. They get the steps right, but they're too stiff. You got to loosen up. You can't be that stiff. Except for Tio Choco. He gets the moves right. I don't know how old he is, but he gets the 90s dance moves right. The music in this was everything. I happen to like New Jack Swing, so I was going to love it either way. I happen to notice that the director scored some of the songs on the soundtrack as well. But I would be remiss if I did not mention the costume design. The costume designer put their foot in this. They captured 1989 pretty closely. I really like the scare scenes. They were creative and funny. The CG isn't the best, but I still enjoyed those scenes. I don't know why my sister said it. I don't get the big deal. Go to the market, get some raw meat, and dip your hair. Do a meat rinse and get your coins. Maybe she said that because in the natural hair community, we already put a lot of food products in our hair, from coconut oil, honey, mayonnaise, beer, rice water, coffee. There I go getting sidetracked again. There's lots of familiar faces in this movie. Kelly Rowland's in it, as I mentioned, Usher, Vanessa Williams. This movie also features Blair Underwood, Jay Farrow, Lena Waithe, Michelle Hurd, MC Lyte, Laverne Cox, James Vanderbeek, and many familiar faces. Speaking of Blair Underwood, I really appreciate his character as the wise old uncle. We don't see that character enough in movies, and I believe that they are to be revered. We always see so much about aunties, and yes, we love our aunties, but we have to appreciate our uncles too. I'm very fortunate because I have so many uncles. I have an uncle who's a chef, who I heard was hellfire on the dance floor back in the discotheques in the 70s. I have an uncle that's a teacher that ran the Boston Marathon, and he also did a whole bunch of cycling marathons as well. I have an uncle that's a master mechanic that makes amazing beer burgers. I have an uncle that always worked in security or corrections, and he would dress up as Santa Claus for us when we were little kids. And I have an uncle that does landscaping that taught us about classic 70s rock from Hendrix to Deep Purple. Anyway, that's why I appreciate that character in this movie. I love the ending of this movie. The way she had to defeat the evil hair works on 2 levels. Since I don't want to spoil it, I'll talk about that spoiler after the end card of this video. This movie was a lot of fun and had social commentary. And you can have fun while doing that without re-traumatizing people. Though it's actually not uncommon at all to have social commentary in horror. As a genre, you see that a lot. I would like to own this movie. I also want a sequel, but set it in New York. This was written, directed, and produced by Justin Simien. He also wrote some of the songs, and he's the stand-in for Judge Reinhold. He did say in an interview that he was very much inspired by the subgenre in Asian horror of hair movies.
You know, the idea really came from a conversation about a subgenre of horror in Korean and Japanese horror films about hair specifically, and I felt like there was an American story there to be told that hadn't been told, and specifically one that kind of interrogates the system, that kind of forces black women in particular, but all of black culture to sort of produce value that they themselves can actually capitalize on.
And it shows in his direction in this movie. There are a lot of visual homages to Asian horror. Notice I said Asian horror, not just J-horror. Japanese horror gets all the glory, but there's also many great movies coming out of South Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, India, etc. In case you missed it, I just reviewed a South Korean movie called The Wig and a Japanese movie called Hair Extensions. Not the same one as at the beginning of this one. There's two different movies called Hair Extensions. I'm glad I watched all three of those before watching Bad Hair so that I could get the references to those movies. And I know this review went around the world and back, but it's time for my sign-off. Have you seen Hair Extensions? Have you seen Bad Hair? Have you seen the other movies I mentioned, like The Wig and the other version of, well, it's not another version, it's another movie by the same name, Hair Extensions? Let me know if you've seen those, if you've seen this, what you think of this. Did you think it was funny? I think certain things are going to hit differently if you are a black woman who has had your hair done this way, and if you're not, it might not hit you the same way, and that's just the way it is. Everything isn't for everybody. But I like this movie. It was for me. But as I always say, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it. Just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. I will talk about the one spoiler I want to talk about, but it's going to be after these end credits. So stay tuned for that. Spoiler time. I love how at the end of this movie she had to defeat the weave with water. It works on two levels. One, the water thing I told you about not getting weaves from back in the day wet because they just get all tangled up and matted. But two, because there's a witch involved in the backstory of this cursed hair. And how did we defeat the witch in Wizard of Oz? Water. Anyways, I really like that ending a lot. I hope y'all appreciate the time and effort I put into this 90s look. It took me 5 minutes to line my big ass eyes, and then I dug out some LA Looks gel, the blue one. I think this one is Extreme Sport. This is what I used to use back in the 80s when I was in middle school. This is what I used to put in my hair. And it's crunchy. But it gets the job done. Just don't get caught in the rain. I was at Riverside Park and I got caught in the rain and the gel started running into my eyes and it burned. Anyways, I gotta go now. Bye.
Hair in the tree was enchanted.
It's fun to think about.
Oh, I'm aware. It wants to take over us.
Look, I cannot die today, okay? I've been in church for like 15 years. Hey, girl. Damn, that took a turn.